Hi, I'm Ben Niblett. I chair the diocese's Green Group and I know Leslie from that. It was great working with her. So we're thinking about being salt and light, and these are commands that Jesus gave to us for all time. It's always part of what it is to be a Christian, is being salt and light. But what does it mean for us in our generation and as part of season of creation? So I thought first about salt. It's a preservative. It keeps things good. It stops them rotting. That's very appropriate for a time when our world is being damaged and we need to preserve it better than we are doing. And it also makes it taste better. It's not just about a useful thing, it's also something delicious. And to be flavoursome, to be salt and light, we need to be distinctive. We need to rely on God. We need Him to give us the flavour that's different from the tastes around us. And also, I think, if we're thinking about the climate catastrophe and our calling as part of responding to that, then part of what makes us salty, part of what makes us distinctive, part of what makes us add something is remembering the facts. It's easy to forget as we get caught up in our everyday lives and we're busy doing all sorts of different things, especially at the moment. But we need to keep reminding ourselves and each other there's a climate crisis going on. There are a few years left while we can still do something about it, and it's really urgent that we do because of the impact it will have on the people God made and loves and the whole of His creation. So I also thought about light. So if we are going to help people see better, to light the way for them, to help them see things that you can't see in the dark, then that's partly how we live, it's partly what they see in our lives, and it's partly what we say to them, and also seeing us speaking up to government, MPs, decision makers locally as well. But I think the biggest thing about light and the climate crisis is, can we help people see clearly? And that's in many different directions. So it's overcoming things we're used to, habits where we're in a world where we often think about what we can buy, what we can consume. We often get our identity through those things. More than just buying stuff that we need, it turns into our addiction maybe. So how do we light that up? How do we break those habits? How do we live differently? And then when people see that, is that attractive? That's what we're aiming for. So overcoming greed in our own lives, breaking the habits from the world around us, and that means light changes how we think and how we see. So one example is, are you spending more of your time listening to adverts, trying to persuade you that you lack something until you've bought something else to put it right? Or are you spending more time looking at nature, looking at God's good creation, thinking about Him, thinking about your neighbours? The other aspect of being light that occurs to me is pointing to God. So, do we live differently enough for people to see something different in us, to see something that they may recognise as God at first, or may not? They may only see that later. But is there something different about the way that we live? Are we more contented? Are our lives simpler than the people around us? And again, if we're following Jesus, if we're loving our neighbours, and if we're loving God who made the whole of this creation and said it was good, and if we can see Him in it, then we should be light. We should look different. We should change the world around us. And I don't know about you, but there's times when putting a bowl over the light sounds really attractive. Just doing the equivalent nowadays might be not putting a bowl over a light, but hiding under the duvet. That might be appealing sometimes, especially if you're tired. And it's a good time to remember that when Jesus says you are salt and you are light, that you is plural. It doesn't just mean everything is down to you individually. He means us. We're doing this together, we're supporting each other. There's time for some rest along the way. Thanks very much.